What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. And today we're talking the October 12th, 2020 edition of Raw Talk. Bit of a more newsworthy episode than usual with the results, or the, supplemental draft results, whatever, of the 2020 WWE Draft, with a few superstars switching shows and whatnot. We'll get to that momentarily. For the guests this week, we had AJ Styles, Lana, and the New Day's Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. With R-Truth staying put on Raw, it's still going to be Charlie Caruso and R-Truth hosting Raw Talk. And again, I enjoy R-Truth. The guy's a national treasure. But as a talk show host, as the host, or the co-host rather, of Raw Talk, I've said this several weeks in a row now, it just doesn't make for the best show. I thought Samoa Joe was much better in the analyst role, but, Truth isn't terrible by any means. He's usually pretty good. It could be better, because usually they play up a lot of stuff for comedy, and it doesn't make for the most, intriguing show. It's kind of like off a little, when it comes to like the vibe of the show, in terms of the approach they take, it's not perfect, but regardless, Truth does joke at the beginning of the episode. I got a good laugh out of this. He goes, "Charlie, you were drafted." And she goes, "Well, I've been here for 4 years, so I guess my job is safe here on Raw." And I don't think she's ever switched shows. She's obviously appeared in other brands before, but Charlie wasn't one of those people that had to work her way up through NXT or go to SmackDown first. I'm pretty sure she's always been on Raw for the last 4 years. But no, he goes, "No, you were drafted to NXT UK, not Raw," which I thought was amazing. So she runs down Raw's newest acquisitions, people like AJ Styles, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, who's officially part of the show now, according to her, even though he already was, Braun Strowman, The Fiend, Jeff Hardy, those type of people. Caruso, so they welcome on AJ. So this was weird. They replay the video that AJ put up on SmackDown during night 1 of the draft, where he was upset that he was drafted in round 2, not round 1. And he was drafted in round 1 in 2016 and 2019, but not this year. He was in round 2. So then she says, "Oh, congrats on going in round 1. So I'm like, what? I thought I was wrong for a second. So I went back and looked at it. He was definitely drafted in round 2 this year. So, and the weird thing is that they showed the video of him complaining about being in round 2, but she specifically said round 1. So that confused the hell out of me. But he said he was a little salty about it, but it is what it is. He said at the end of the day, Raw, SmackDown, it doesn't make a difference to him, even though obviously I would think he's partial to SmackDown, because that's where he was for the first 3 years of his career in the company. He says there's no difference between the two brands. In truth, this is when he kind of gets a little jokey. He asks AJ if he can build him like a condominium or something, because AJ used to call himself SmackDown was the house that AJ Styles built. Truth took that literally. So Styles says, "Charlie, you're an enabler for not, cracking down on Truth and not telling him that he's an idiot or whatever," which I thought was hilarious. He recaps his win on Raw from earlier in the evening. He won a triple threat match with Rollins and Hardy, which was great. A dream match from like 5 years ago. Had you told me in 2015 that we would get a triple threat match on Raw between Jeff Hardy, Seth Rollins, and AJ Styles, I would have fucking called you crazy. But we got it on Raw this week, and it was a very good match. But he said he had no alliance, no relationship, no association whatsoever with Elias, who came back on the show, cost Hardy the match by smacking him over the head with a guitar, and allowing AJ Styles to win the match. AJ claims, and I believe him, that he knew nothing about it, has no knowledge of Elias. I have no, desire to see an AJ Styles Elias, alliance, whatever. I'd rather see AJ Styles with Joseph Park. And he says as much here. He says, "Oh, I wish I had Joseph Park here to give me the analytics or the statistics, whatever, for the 24/7 championship," because he asked R-Truth, what are the rules of the 24/7 championship, by the way? Kind of teasing that he might beat him for it. And as far as AJ is concerned, I surely fucking hope not, because that would be a massive step down to come to Raw and win the 24/7 championship. But anyway, he called Hardy a cheater, Jeff Hardy a cheater, for what he did for when Hardy beat him for the Intercontinental Championship a couple of months ago. But anyway, I thought AJ on here was great. So this is when they give the round 7 of the WWE 2020 draft for night 2. So round 7, you probably have already seen it by now, consisted of Lana being picked by Raw, and she's now the new number 1 contender to the Raw Women's Championship, so that's really not all that surprising. But Lana is now on Raw, again, still. Natalya, which you probably saw this coming after she split from Lana on the show, is now back on SmackDown, which, listen, I don't give a fuck about Natalya, but she's been on Raw now for 2.5 years. I think moving her back to SmackDown is for the better. That division on paper, it's got Billie Kay, Vega, Tamina, Natalya. That division screams, it needs a lot of help. Let's put it that way. They have Sasha and Bayley, which is good, and Bianca, so maybe they can kind of help that division. They lost Lacey, they lost Naomi, they lost Alexa Bliss, they lost Nikki. So it's definitely questionable, I would say. So anyway, continuing along here with the results of the draft. Raw also got Riddick Moss, who I think is currently out with an ACL injury, but again, who gives a fuck about Riddick Moss on Raw. SmackDown got the Riot Squad, Ruby Riott, and Liv Morgan. And Raw picked up Arturo Ross. Now, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. Or Rujas, rather. I think it's Rujas. Arturo Rujas, the former Raw Underground guy. He was in NXT. Again, why him and Dabba-Kato were being drafted, I have no fucking clue. What a waste. So they welcome on Lana, who is like almost in tears. I don't know if these are real tears, because when she speaks later on, normally she has no, she sounds like she was never crying, so I'm not even sure if this was real, but she's very emotional about becoming the new #1 contender, and she did a pretty good job acting. I'll give her credit for that, if those were fake tears. But she said that she was very emotional, coming off her Raw Women's Championship #1 contenders dual-branded Battle Royal victory on Raw tonight, or last night, rather, when this aired. You know, she hasn't had a lot of success recently. She's gotten put through table after table after table after table by Nia Jax. She got dumped by Natalya following her loss to Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke on Monday. She hasn't had a lot of luck recently, aside from becoming the #1 contender on Monday night. And she says she's going to get lucky again next week when she beats Asuka for that Raw Women's Championship. Yeah, keep dreaming, sister. Keep dreaming. But anyway, she calls herself an inspiration, and she goes into character mode here, an inspiration for herself. And Charlie says, oh, maybe you should be on TikTok less if you really want to win the championship. And she goes, no, I have training TikToks, and, I train on there, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a fuck about TikTok. So that was it for Lana. They welcome on the New Day, Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. They were very entertaining here. They said it was logical, even after Big E questioned why the SmackDown Tag Team Champions were on Raw on Talking Smack on Saturday. He even said, how long have you worked here, Sami Zayn? Don't you know that nothing here really makes sense? Or something along those lines. So anyway, they do say here that it was logical to swap the championships, making, I think, New Day 10-time tag team champions, which is ridiculous. But, I mean, they're a great tag team, but 10 times is just nuts. That's like Charlotte Flair territory. So they said it was logical to swap the titles. Charlie questions if they ever had any doubts, because Kofi's been out for a couple of months. Xavier's been out for almost exactly a year. He's been out for a long time, and they said, no, you're not really, She questioned whether they thought there was a chance they might lose the Raw Tag Team titles in their first defense on Raw against Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, but they said, no, not a chance. We were always going to go in there and prove why we are the best thing going in WWE. Even without Big E by our side, we are still one of, if not the best tag team in the entire company. So this is when they kind of wind off here. They kind of wind down. With Xavier Woods, they were talking about goals and winning more championships, even though they are the current Raw Tag Team Champions. Xavier says that his ultimate goal wrestling-wise, his final and only goal left, he said, not was to become world champion or intercontinental champion, rather to become a King of the Ring. We haven't had the King of the Ring in over a year. We had the 2019 tournament culminate in mid-September, so it's been over a year now. I wish they would bring it back. Just have him win King of the Ring is my thing. The New Day were so focused on getting Kofi Kingston a world championship, they did that. Their next goal should be to make Xavier Woods King of the Ring. Because why the hell not? We've had Mabel as King of the Ring. We've had Wade Barrett, which wasn't a bad thing. I like Wade Barrett, but still. That was he kind of turned into a joke after that. We've had Mabel as King of the Ring. A lot of people that probably shouldn't have been. Billy Gunn, for example. Billy Gunn should have never been King of the Ring, but he was. So if Billy Gunn can be King of the Ring, I say Xavier Woods should be King of the Ring. The guy's very underrated. He doesn't get the credit he deserves, I would say. He's never had any mid-card titles like Big E or Kofi, no world championships, no singles titles at all in WWE. But that would be a nice accomplishment for him if he could manage to do that at some point, assuming they bring back the tournament. WWE's probably like, don't fucking talk about the King of the Ring. We have no plans to bring it back. But hopefully him trying to manifest it to reality by talking about it so much will bring back the King of the Ring so he can win it, which would be great. So anyway, Truth got thanked by Xavier for Xavier bringing him into WWE. Not actually, but on the main roster, which I completely forgot about until he mentioned it here. And he's mentioned it before, but I completely forget about it until he talks about it. How he's right. It was 7 years ago, if you can believe it, that R-Truth welcomed Xavier Woods onto the main roster. And that was when Xavier Woods was, he was good in NXT, but that was when he still had the mustache and the Eddie Murphy knockoff gimmick, and it failed immediately on the main roster. They never booked the guy right. They never booked him like an actual threat. He floundered, and he probably would have been released had he not joined up with Kofi and Big E. And he's very talented. I've always been a big Xavier Woods, Consequences Creed fan, but the truth of the matter is that had he not joined New Day, had New Day not become a thing, they definitely would not have had any plans for this guy, and he would have just floundered until he got released. But I'm so happy it worked out because the guy's great. But anyway, that was Raw Talk for October 12th, 2020. A good episode, a bit better than recent Raw Talks, I would say. Lana was a bit more bearable than usual. I'm so glad she's away from Natalya. They just both do nothing for me, but they are way more tolerable on their own than they are together. So I'm glad she's on her own now. Good for her. I don't give a shit about Asuka and Lana next week, but it is what it is. The New Day were great, and AJ was great too. All I want to say, aside from Xavier Woods as King of the Ring, is Joseph Park join AJ Styles on Raw. Because he was a great part of his act and talking smack on Saturdays, Fridays, whatever. They got to bring Joseph Park over to Raw too. He's got to bring Joseph Park with him. And it's not like Joseph Park has to be drafted. He's not an on-air character, by and large. He's a backstage guy. He could just travel to Raw with AJ. That's what I would say. But good episode of Raw Talk for October 12th, 2020. Very solid stuff. So check out all my other Raw Talk reviews right here on the channel in the description box down below for the playlist entitled Raw Talk Reviews. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Hit that little bell button as well to be notified every time a new video goes up. So stay tuned for more content going up this week. We got a WWE 24 review, Uncool with Alexa Bliss reviews, WWE Day of reviews, and so much more. So stay tuned for that in the days to come. Have a great one, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.